Charok, welcome to this interview for the Calm Mind series. We're very grateful for your time to be here and sharing your insights about Buddhism with us. So
my name is Charok Sherpa, and my background, nothing much. I studied here in Kopan Monastery. Then maybe around 16 years ago, I moved down to South India to study Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy. The education is much better in the 3 monastic universities. So Sera Je is one of the 3 monastic universities that teaches Buddhist philosophy in great details. So I moved down there, and ever since then I've been studying down there. And about my title, there's a lot of Rinpoches. I don't normally use I don't normally use the title Rinpoche or Lama so much, but people call me Charok Lama sometimes. And that one normally, title, I think in the Buddhist system, I think a lot of other systems also have similar ways of using the title of reincarnation. So being a reincarnation, I think, yeah, that's about it. That one I don't really remember so much. The thing is, I was, I think, 2 years old, maybe 1.5 or 2, something like that, when I was first recognized. And the one who recognized me is one of the Nyingma heads, now already passed away, great master, Nyingma master. His name is Trushi Rinpoche, and yeah, he recognized me. But that was a long time ago. I don't really remember. Generally speaking, it's not an easy concept to accept immediately. It's not, it's not a view or a concept that is easily, something easily that you can observe. It's not something like that. So it's understandable that a lot of people have a hard time understanding, accepting. But in order to understand reincarnation, rebirth, important to understand what the mind is. And once you understand mind and the view of impermanence, cause and effect, impermanence, cause and effect, once you understand that, and then comes the view of continuum. And once you understand the idea of mind and continuum, then you need to link those two together to get a grip on the idea of continuum of the mind. And I think past life, future lives, next life, previous lives, these concepts come from that category where we say continuum of the mind. Unless you can understand or accept the idea of mind, if you cannot accept the idea of something that is untangible, something that is not the body, something that is not the soul, something that is completely different from all of those, something that is untangible, unless you can grip such an idea, it's very hard to understand what continuum of the mind is. So I think at the basis you need to have a rough understanding of what the mind is and what the view of impermanence is, in order to understand continuum of life, next and past, future lives. I think one very strong misconception or a very strong trending view of what a monk is, I always say this a lot, is you have someone sitting cross-legged like this, still, very serious, never smiling, always thinking about deep thoughts, always concentrating, always meditating, something like that. I think there's a big misconception of what monks are or what monks should be. The only difference you need to know between a monk and a lay person is nothing but the vows. a monk takes vows, a monk takes novic vows, and a lay person doesn't take those vows. That's the biggest or the most important difference between a lay person and a monk. Now, considering a life of a monk and a lay person, now there can be quite a big difference, because a monk normally lives in a monastery. Nowadays there are monks who don't live in a monastery, who have their own, what do we say, or their own lifestyle sort of thing. But in the early times, monks were supposed to live in novic communities. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. In the refuge we have the 3 refuges, and in the third one we have the Sangha. Sangha, which means sort of like brotherhood of monks, companion of monks, meaning someone who can support you, or who can provide you information and support while practicing and while entering the path of enlightenment. So therefore a community is important in a monk's life. Now daily life of a monk, I think when you are young, pretty similar. Go to school, primary school, secondary school, you do all of that, class +1, +2, you do those. Then once, like for me, I've entered monastic university, so we, instead of having classes to go to attend to, it's similar to a normal university. We go there, we go for lectures, we listen to professors talk, professors, PhD, masters talk on different topics, on philosophical topics, from Buddhist philosophical topics. And we need one of the methods of our studying is called debating. It's similar to law. I think I always compare it to law, because people understand law quite well and how it works. So I think it's quite similar to that, where you have to memorize a lot of things, memorize a lot of quotations, and then provide proof and provide examples, provide what do we say, valid points in order to prove your validation. So similar to that, I think in a Buddhist monastic university we study that, and I think in ranges that's a little bit different, because a lot of monks, they wake up very early, they memorize a lot, and then they go for their lectures, they go for debate. So a normal daily life would start maybe at around 5:30 and 6, between that, until at the end, by evening, I think it will end around 11:30 to 12. And then in the middle there's break, lunch break, and after lunch there's maybe 1-2 hours break. So yeah, so something like that. Now what I have been studying, I think a little bit hard to explain in easy words. In Buddhism, generally there's one of the, what do we say, the Buddhist 84,000 teachings of the Buddha is condensed into different topics. And the most easiest, best way of looking at the 84,000 teachings is through the understanding of the 5 major topics, we call it. We have Parjin, Paramita, Madhyamika, and then Vinaya, Abhidhamma-kosh, and one is what? So one is Namde. So these 5, there's 5 of them, 5 major topics. So this is what we study. It takes, in the Buddhist monastic university, to study all of this, it takes, to do a PhD, it takes maybe around, there's different monasteries that give different years. In our monastery, Sera Je, it takes around 22 to 25 years. Some universities take maybe 18 years, 17 years, like that. But yeah, so basically it's the 5 major topics that we study, but in detailed. So.
And will your studies go on for 20 years?
Yeah, if nothing, if there's no obstacles in between, then probably. easy answer is cause and condition. You built a chaotic world, and then chaotic things are born to happen. This is the easy way of explaining. Harder way of explaining, I mean, it's not, now some people might think, oh, I haven't done anything bad, I'm very good, I do my prayers, I do my, I do all of the good things that I'm supposed to do, but still I am still. Now this one is again, we say, no, side effect sort of thing. When you have someone in your neighbor burning plastics, then the people around there, even if it's one person burning the plastic, the people around there get harmed. So this is how a pandemic works. There are conditions that certain people create in order for something like this to happen, and then the result, a lot of people suffer because of that. Then that can be anything. That can be from first how the virus started. That can be one reason. Then second is how they dealt with the virus. That's the second thing. Third is how they controlled it. Fourth is how they how they made people react to it. So these are all conditions coming together, and the situation gets worse and worse and worse when you don't take the right measurements, sort of thing. So easy way to explain, I think, would be cause and conditions. You created the cause, effects are bound to be happening. But when you ask the question, but how come it's happening to me, or only me, sort of, this is not only me, this is affecting the whole world. So there you can't have the me view there again. And then the third thing, I think, when it comes to something like that, I think they are, from I mean, a lot of people don't like this view, but I always think there is a positive way of looking at it, there is a negative way of looking at it. As humans, as someone who, who is at the top of the food chain, someone, as humans that has the ability to, circum so many things, we have been, on top of the species, the species list for so many years now. So for us, it's a very bad news. It's a sad news. It's a bad news. It's not a good thing. We depend a lot on economy. We depend a lot of money. We depend a lot on so many different valuable things that we don't get to do when something like this is happening and when a lockdown is happening. And then we are so used to partying, enjoying, going out, disco, that people, when they don't get to do these things, they have nowhere else to release their energy or their frustration or whatever it is they have. So when you don't get that, then people mentally it starts to affect you a lot. So these are the negative sides. But the positive side, like I said, there is a positive side. The positive side, one thing I think we have, a lot of people say, this world, we have been creating global warming, this, now it's starting to go down. We can start to see results of things actually getting a little bit better on that side. So healing, and the world itself is healing. So that is one good way of looking at it. And animals are coming back to to roam places that they would normally not get to roam. And weather is coming down. The level of temperature is coming down, the ozone layer is healing. I don't know, so many different things. I don't know if all of these are facts or not, but these things are happening in what is a small amount, in little amounts. I mean, it will take time, but it's still happening, slowly it's happening. So that's again a good thing. Third thing I think is we have been focusing on the outside side too much, that we have lost in touch with our inner self. And I think this one, a lot of people are starting to realize that, oh, there is something there as well that we can get in tune with. So this is and I think for a lot of people this might be a new discovery, and I think this is also an important part of your life, because a lot of people who actually realize this, they realize it too late. They realize it when they have cancer, when they are about to die. They realize it when they are old age and they can't do anything. They realize it when all of their family members have gone, spread around, and they are left alone. These things people realize too late. Now at this situation, people start to realize not too late. So I think it's a good thing from those perspectives, So I think, coming back to the point, I think it depends a lot on which points you want to concentrate on, focus on. And if you focus on something positive, I don't think it's that hard. But if you're, like I said, if you're more of a person who likes to party, who likes to enjoy, who likes to, shun their wealth, who is, who likes to show off, worldly things, who wants to make a lot of money, then of course you can't do much there. With a situation like this, there's nothing much you can do there. Karma is in Tibetan, karma means star. But in Sanskrit, in Sanskrit, karma means condition, cause and condition, dependent condition. That's what karma is. I throw the ball, I throw the ball towards the wall, it's going to bounce back. If I throw water, it won't bounce, it will splash. So this is the substance equals the cause you create, then is equals to the result. This is karma in simple terms. This is, I think, the simplest term. Now, then people say, why not call it cause and condition? Why you have to give it a whole different name called karma and not call it cause and condition? Because there's already cause and condition. In Tibetan we say gyunde. Gyunde and lay is completely different. They say lay is karma, gyunde is cause and condition. Why totally different? Why you have to give a totally different name to something so simple, right? Then I think karma, you need to look at cause and condition, but from a different perspective. You need to change the way you look at it differently. Cause and condition generally, like we talked earlier, you throw a ball, it bounces. You throw water, it splashes. These are cause and conditions. I hit someone, maybe I cause the condition of getting hit back, something like that. These are conditions that we create. Now karma, you need to look at karma in a very specific way. I always like to explain karma from the perspective of looking at a tree. Flower blooms, then it turns into the flower. After the flower dies, then the fruit comes, then you get to eat the fruit. This is conditions, cause and conditions, right? There's the cause of fruit being, I create the cause of fruit to grow on the tree, then after that I can enjoy the result, which means eating the tree, eating the fruit. Then karma, now if there is a tall tree, right on top of the tree there is a leaf on the topmost part of the tree. Now this leaf consists of minerals, water, all of those. From where? From the ground. So the root takes the minerals and the waters from the ground and moves all the way to the top leaf of the tree. But then when we look at it, if we don't have the power to look at it for a very long time, it seems like something like this is not there. Make sense? Like the droplet, that the water inside the leaf on top of the tree, for it to come from the root to all the way to the top, it takes a long time. Maybe you need one of nowadays, what is a hyper speed camera, because we are very impatient, right? You look at the water, you wait. It doesn't seem like it's going up at all, right? So we get very impatient. So nowadays you have these hyper speed cameras where they show the tree growing like this. So similar to that, no? If you look at it from a very normal view, you don't see the changes. Seems like it doesn't exist at all. So life extended. Life is also similar to that thing. It's extended. We only see this life. also in this life we only see today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, something like that. We are not focused to be able to see long. Yeah. So cause and conditions that we have created in the past, and results that are happening in the future, these things are not easy to see, very hard. Yeah. So similar to that tree thing. So when you focus on something like that, if you could in life, if you could have a hyper or a hyperlapsing camera in life, then I would say maybe you start to see what karma really is. But we can't do that. It's a little bit hard to explain. But you get the idea, right?
Yeah,
you get the
absolutely.
idea.
Thank you. That was great.
In Lamrim, there's this word, death is certain, but its time is uncertain, which is fact, right? And when you talk about the body, it's very fragile. Yeah? Nothing can we think that we are very strong and that, and how good our immune systems are, and then we pump up our body, eat a lot, put a lot of food inside, build up our calorie intake, then build big muscles. Then then we, in order to support it, then so at the end of the day, you need to know that this body is very fragile. Anything, any small thing that starting from a small needle can kill us. So the concept, I think the concept of impermanence comes from understanding that the view of impermanence as we view it is not there. Yeah, so we have a very permanent view of ourselves. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to do that, day after tomorrow I'm going to do that, after 1 month I'm going to work here, after 5 years I'm going to get married, after 10 years I'm going to, after 30 years I'm going to get retired, after 50 years I'm going to, I don't know. So this is a very permanent view that we have of ourselves, the guarantee view that we will be alive after 50 years, after 60 years. But because time is uncertain, anything can happen. Now fear is another thing again. In a situation like this, I think this fear, a lot of people deal with it in certain parts of their life. Soldiers, when they go to war, they deal with this fear, because then they understand the real meaning of impermanence. Anything can happen. Yeah? The minute I walk onto the field, I might get a bullet in my head. They understand that. And not just yourself, they also understand that others are impermanent. Yeah, your fellow soldiers, anyone could die in the war field. They understand these things. And this is very, what we say, solid written. It's like it's carved on the stone. Yeah? Now the realization we have is merely thought and maybe mouth speaking a little bit. But in reality, if you really thought inside, the realization is not really there. It's just a concept that we are willing to accept. It's not really inside here, it's just a concept that we think about and we think, oh yeah, possible. Yeah. It's possible I will die tomorrow. Yeah, it's possible I won't be alive after 5 years. Oh, but it's not fit in here, it's not stuck in here. So people who face situations, life and death situations, they start to get a little bit understanding of what real impermanence is. Then there's fear, anxiety, stress, and then the way you deal with things is different. Today, money becomes so important. You work day and night for money, work all day, do maybe 3 shifts a day for money. Then tomorrow when you come to the point where you are facing death right in front of you, that money doesn't become important at all. There then, oh, family becomes important, oh, your son becomes important, oh, how much time you have left, it becomes important, oh, how many people are willing to come in, I don't know what you call it, pat you on the back, and these things become important there. Yeah, the whole sense of the other perspective that you had doesn't matter at all. So this, once you understand the view of impermanence, you start to look at the world from a different view, I think. Yeah, the partying, the enjoying, the whole this, I think, completely disappear. I don't think will be there so much. The view of impermanence, the view of impermanence is not that easy where you think and you can suddenly understand. It won't happen that way. It will take time. You deal with situations. When you deal with situations, you learn things while you are dealing with situations. So I think, rather than saying how do I integrate, I think I would rather say, I think this is a good opportunity for you to learn about these things, understand these things. So when the fear is there, when the anxiety is there, then you get a new realization. Oh, how I'm looking at it is totally different. Yeah, how the world, maybe, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, before, I never thought something like this could happen. Now we're locked down, chaos, people are dying, then this uncertainty, then the fear. Then of course we need to survive, we need to eat, we need to provide. Then how are we going to eat, how are we going to provide? These things come into play. So as you go along, you learn new things. Now the important thing, if you really want to be able to deal with things, the important thing is always keeping yourself calm. Any situation, I always say, in any kind of situation, when your mind is calm, you are able to deal with the situation. When your mind is not calm, then dealing with the situation becomes near to impossible. So I think always need to keep your mind at ease. This is one important thing. No, everyone fears it. It's not just with that culture or this culture. Everyone fears death. No one wants to die. Yeah, no one wants to die. Now the concept of impermanence is getting more close to getting in tune with the concept of death. Not just getting in tune with the concept of death, preparing yourself when the time comes. Yeah, like we said earlier in the Lamrim, said that death is certain. Then we tend to live our lives with the permanent view, never to prepare ourselves for the time of death, because we are always preparing ourselves for the time when we are not dead. Yeah, bigger houses, bigger places, bigger cars, more money, and bigger family. Then it go on and on and on like this. Now if you start working on these kinds of, what do we say, attachments, these kinds of goals, then it's never ending. Yeah, these attachments is never ending. No, first you aim for $1,000, then after you get, then you want 100,000, then once you get the 100 done, then you want 1 billion, then 2 billion, then 100 billion, then million, then zillion. So it keeps going on. The what is it, the grasping attitude, it keeps growing. So there's no limit to satisfying yourself in that category. You can never do that. Now when people cannot do that, and then they, at the end of their life, when they are old, because there's 4 or 5 things that you cannot avoid. First is, of course, rebirth. You get rebirth, you get born, birth, then sickness, you can't avoid it. There's no way you can avoid sickness. Then old age, you're slowly going to get old, wrinkled, white hair is going to turn white, what do we say, our skin, we say, is very elastical. Then it loses its elasticity, or whatever you call it. Then wrinkle, then getting fragile, then the muscles start to cramp up, then what do you say, joints start to hurt. So these things are going to be there. No way you can escape that. And then sickness, you can, like now the pandemic, if the conditions are there, then you become sick. Now, there is doctors nowadays, good facility. In the olden days, these facilities not much there. Nowadays, good facilities, so a lot of sickness can be cured. But then still, you need to suffer. You need to, you go through sickness, you suffer. That one, there's no escape. Today you don't get sick. Tomorrow you're going to get cold or something like that. Then after 1 month, something's going to happen. This is the body, like I said. As long as there's the korwa, there's the suffering, the body is there, then sickness it comes with the body, right? One day this is not right, one day that is not right. Something is going to happen. The sickness is bound to happen. Then at the end of the whole thing, then comes death. That no one can avoid. And it's good to be prepared. No? If you are not prepared for death, then at the time of death, then imagine if I told you to do something that you are unprepared for, how much anxiety or how much stress there is, then death is, you can't compare death to something like that. No. when you are facing death right in front of you, then imagine how much fear, how much insecurity, how much regret. All of these things are going to start to pop up. So it's good to be prepared for death. That's why the view of impermanence is there. To get yourself ready for when the time comes, then there's no regret, there's a lot of love in your life, then you're satisfied with what you did with your life. Yeah? So these things, what happens with these things, if you have all of those things checked, then even when you're about to go, then you are ready to go. You're willingly, happily embracing to go. Yeah? That sounds much better than dying, fear, insecurity, loss of everything, uncertainty. That's what the point. No? So I think it's better to be ready for something like that. Because you can't avoid it. There's no way you can avoid it. I mean, if you can avoid it, it's a totally different story then. Then you try something to avoid. You can't avoid it. This is not something that you can avoid. No. So you work on those things in order to build a scenario where you are satisfied with life and you embrace death happily. No more fear, no more anxiety, no more stress at the time of death. Then if you believe in next life, future life, it's up to you. Some people don't want to believe, no problem. Even if you don't believe, if you had a good satisfying life, then it's good. No? You're happy, you go happily. Now if you believe, then you also believe that you are ready for the next life. You have created enough conditions where you will get reborn again in a condition where everything suits you. So things like that. No? And we try to avoid, our whole life we try to avoid all of this sickness. It's bound to happen, but the less the better. No? So in the future, if you are less sick, less problem, this is also better. So we aim for that as well. One thing, dependent arising, interdependent we say. As people, as things that are impermanent, we are interdependent. We depend on cause, we depend on condition, we depend on effect. That's how we live as a person. The conditions we create are the things around us. Yeah? And we create conditions to things such as house, cars, this, yes. But the most effective conditions are the conditions that actually not just us doing, but also coming from the other side. And that is animals, reaction. We depend on reaction. Yeah? So if you are kind to someone, they are kind back to you. If you're good to someone, they're good back to you. And this is not just person, also animal. Yeah, you're kind to an animal, the animal is kind to you back, nice to you, loving, caring, sharing. Those things are there. No? So, so dependent. I think one reason why compassion and love and compassion is very important, because we are dependent on everything. Yeah, especially we are dependent to the people, animals around us. Therefore, it's important. If you were independent, non-dependent on those, then no worry. Yeah, if we didn't have to eat, if we didn't have to be happy, if we didn't need company, if we didn't need all of those, then no problem. Then you don't need compassion. We need those, and those come through dependence. So one reason why it's important. Second reason, I think, when it comes to love, we are creatures that thrive on love. I always say that we are born through love. We spend our lives, our whole journey throughout life based on love. Yeah. Nowadays, I think love a little bit changed. Nowadays, it's on Facebook and Instagram is the red heart shape. There's love. A lot of people depend on that a lot, but in reality, that's not the love that I mean, it's a sense of love, but it's not the real love. And the real love is much more powerful than a like or a love on the social media. So we depend on those things. So the importance of understanding that we being creatures that depend on love, then throughout our life, then at the end of the day, when you come to our deathbed, love also very important. So I think when they talk about compassion and love, compassion a little bit harder to explain, and I think maybe if you are willing to understand the concept of love and practice in the concept of love, then slowly you can proceed to the concept of compassion. But compassion is not even close to love. It's a whole different view. That thing, I think you need to study a little bit in order to get a full grasp of it, because explaining compassion, I don't think would actually makes much sense at the beginning. So yeah. But from a rough view, compassion, a lot of His Holiness uses the term supreme emotion. Yeah, supreme emotion, that is supreme, that is unmatchable, that is immense. And the reason why they say supreme emotion is because your ability to feel a deep sense of deep, genuine, sincere, unconditional sense within you to care and love, genuinely, sincerely, unconditionally, not that just towards the close ones around you, like your family, your kid, your dog, your pet, nothing that is you or I, universal. Countless beings, countless animals, countless, any living creature that exists, your ability to feel the exact same supreme emotion towards them, all, so non-bias, non-segregation, none of those exist there. So compassion is something like that. A little bit hard to conceive, I think, first time, but yeah, something like that. Motivation is the drive, it's at the beginning, it's the intention, the drive, the thing, the force that pushes you, motivation. If there's no motive, then even you get done something, but I don't think you get the full result for anything. When it's practicing, also same thing. When the motivation is not there, you do something, but you just do it for the sake of doing so. Result is not going to be what you thought it would be. A lot of people practice, the intention is not so much there, then they just push themselves, they force themselves, then at the end they reach to a level where they don't see any results, then they think, there's no result, no use, but actually it's the motive that. So in karma we always say there's three things, First, right at the beginning, there's the motive, then second is action, then third, after the action, is how you react. It's again something like a motive, but after motive sort of thing. So I did something, then if there's joy and, oh yes, I did it, oh yeah, the result changes, your mindset changes, everything changes when there is this, celebration at the end. Yeah, when you win the match and there's no celebration, then it doesn't feel like you won the match, But when there's celebration at the end, then it feels like you have won, You get the taste of winning, something like that. So it's similar to that. At the beginning you need to have that, oh, we should win the match. Then in the middle, if the motive is there, then in the middle the striving is there. You try your best to win the match. Right? Then after winning, if the celebration is there, then you enjoy the whole thing. So these three things are important, I think. And the first thing comes within those three, motive. People try to hide. But people try to hide from others, they can't hide it from themselves. People want to hide it from themselves, but they can't. Meditation is a method to deal with these things within you. Yeah? When you can't hide it from yourself, then what do? A lot of people, they drink, they make their mind go all over the place so that they don't have to feel it. Yeah? Take drugs. Yeah? What's the point? Yeah, so meditation, these things, hiding these things is one thing. When there's fear and there's unhappiness, hiding these things is one thing. If you can hide it from yourself, then okay, no problem. Yeah, then you don't have to worry about having to experience those things. Yeah, but you experience those things because you can't hide it from yourself. And people try all kinds of crazy things to hide it from themselves, and they never succeed. Now meditation is a method to deal with, not hide, but to deal with those things within yourself. That's what meditation is. Sitting down, bringing, like I said, anything, whenever you want to deal with something, you need to deal with a calm mind. So the first step meditation does, calming yourself down. Yeah? Focusing on the breath, focusing on light, focusing on, I don't know, whatever it is, then focus brings calmness. Yeah? Even your heart rate starts to calm down. So this is the first. Then after calming yourself down, then looking at the issue that is in front. What kind of emotion is coming up? Why it's coming up? For what reason is it coming up? What are the conditions that have been created in order for it to come out? So these things you understand. Once you understand these things, then you are able to deal with them. Mind training, everything is mind training. Yeah? Habituation, acceptance, then integration, then sometimes a little bit of manipulation as well. So these things you need to use in order to deal with things. Concepts are applicable. You can apply it in any situation. So these concepts that are reliable towards dealing with the issue, these concepts you need to apply with an issue. When the issue comes up and you are unable to apply these kinds of concepts, then how do you expect to deal with them without even having to work with it face to face? So when it comes to something like that, I think mind training, there's a lot of different methods, ways of mind training that you can train yourself in, but one of the more famous ones is meditation. I'm not saying meditation can help everything. Meditation cannot help everything. some things you need to deal with it, face to face, emotionally, express it, bring it out. There's this thing we say, go on top of the hill and shout or scream. You need to do this sometimes. So meditation not necessarily will help everything, but it helps one of the biggest issues. And one of the first things that meditation helps is calming yourself down. And like I said, if your mind is calm, then you figure out ways to deal with things better. That's, I think, important, no? Effort and discipline comes after you see the importance. Once you start to see why it's so important, then effort and discipline, even if you don't even have to force on yourself. Effort and discipline normally have to be forced when you don't see the importance of something. When you don't see the importance of studying, then you push yourself to study just for the sake of results. But when you see that studying matters, why it matters, how it affects your life, then the strive is there. Like if you are very poor, you can barely survive on one meal a day, then you figure out why. If you studied, then you can not just feed yourself but feed your family. Then the strive is there, the effort and the strive and the discipline comes naturally there, because the goal is there, intention is strong. So more important than what was it, discipline and effort, I think, is understanding the importance. If you understand the importance, then you don't have to focus on effort and discipline that much. I mean, it has to be there, but you don't have to push it so much. Different texts explain in different contexts. Dwaja, Shetang, Kondo, generally, attachment, ignorance, and anger, was it? Anger. These are the three, I think, generally. But then some people explain it different. Some people say Teksum Nyimoje, which is again a part of ignorance, but not exactly the root ignorance that we are talking about. This one also, I think you have to go quite in detail to actually get the grasp of it. But generally speaking, you can put these three: attachment, which is based on the self-grasping attitude, the want and the need, and so this is one of the root things that bring out suffering. Right? Then the second, ignorance, your inability to focus and keep track of things, because mind is dull, because we are not focused on so much. So that part. Then the third one, what was it? Desire, hatred, anger, desire, hatred. I think this is again they based on different schools and different things, they explain it differently.
But it could be said that essentially all of our suffering in some way comes from one or a combination of those three.
So normally you would say root is the root ignorance. Root ignorance. Then self, when it comes to the idea of I, and then the idea of emptiness and all of that, then comes the self-grasping attitude. Then that one is more closely related to attachment, self-attachment. Then of course in attachment a lot of things included, starting from lust, grasping attitude, need, that, this, all of these different kinds of things. So but at the end of the day, it comes down to being able to control these views. Being able to control these views, starting from the grasping attitude, I think. One thing, when it comes to knowledge, I'm not saying I'm knowledge in anything. But when it comes to knowledge, I think sharing is important. But more important than sharing is someone willing to listen. Yeah? If someone is not willing to listen, then it's not sharing more. What do you say? What is the right word? Sort of like
falls upon deaf ears, we might say.
Forcing sort of thing. So this is not good. I don't support that. If someone doesn't want to listen, I think better not to. What is it? Falls on deaf,
like
deaf ear. Falls
deaf
on
ears,
deaf ear. Yeah. Better not falls on deaf ear, I think. Now, one other thing that we need now, the world is coming to a different era. Then nowadays, religion problem, conversion, these things are also problem. And Buddhism, I don't think, from my perspective, I don't think we are interested in conversion. So I always say, never convert. If you are Christian, if you are Hindu, if you are any other religion, keep on that religion. Buddhist, you can apply philosophy, the Buddhist philosophy, without even being Buddhist. That one you can do. What you cannot do is take refuge. That one you cannot do. In order to take refuge, you have to be willing to become a Buddhist. That one. But applying logic, applying concepts, applying views, this one you can do even without being Buddhist. The philosophical views, So things that are useful in your life, things that make you a better person, things that calm your mind down, things that give you a wider view or understanding of how things are working. So these things you can use, you can apply. So not coming to the concept, you need to be a little bit careful. You don't want people to think that you are trying to convert them, because this is not the interest. We are not interested. It's not the interest is not there. So you have to be a little bit careful what you are preaching again, what you are teaching, what you are explaining. These things you need to take care of what you are. But then one thing we always say, in order to produce sound, clapping sound, you need two hands. Only one hand moving cannot produce clapping sound. So it has to, not just the teacher side, it also has to come from the student side. That's also important. Then other than that, I think if it helps people, then sharing is there, it should be there. Your body, that's the first thing you understand. Without the body, there's nothing there, right? From a concept view, without the body, your existence right now, you're striving to do this, to do that, is not there. You don't need to eat food, you don't need to look after the body, you don't need to bathe, you don't need to shower, you don't need all of these things, you don't need house, you don't need money. These things you don't need, and all of those things you don't need without the body. The senses, we rely too much on the five senses, and to satisfy our five senses, then we go around searching for ways to satisfy it. Yeah? So this is depending on the body. Then dependence, on things around you, your house, your this, like I said, based on satisfying the five senses, then the importance of dependence on things around you. Then of course, because we, like I said, creatures that are full of love, that we are creatures that thrive on love, then dependence on those that are closer and those that love you, then dependence is there. Then as a community, you need to know that we are all interlinked. Maybe in the olden, long time, very very long time ago, maybe a little bit less, still dependent on community, but not as much as now. Because now nations are dependent on each other. Food, Nepal depends, food, when it comes to food and all of that, depends on India and China, just like that. Yeah? Then this and that one depends on this one depends on that, on this, then oil dependence on that, then gold dependence on that. So all this, at the end of the day, is all interdependent. We all depend on each other. So community, I think, similar to that, no? Without having the, having someone to look after the community, someone, if one person does a small mistake, then it affects the community. That's also dependence, no? That's how strongly we are connected at the moment. So now, maybe in the olden days, if something like a virus like this spreaded, maybe it would be only in that area. Now we have become so dependent that just in 3-4 months, now is all over the world now. That's how dependent we are. No? It's because of the dependence that this spread this so fast. No? Yeah. Because everyone is traveling here and there because they need to depend on that, they need to go there, they need to go here. Technology, combination of technology and mind training is, try to train yourself not to be too focused on technology.
Sound advice, I think.
I don't think I've seen any apps that teach you mind training or meditation, but maybe they are. I don't know. But our dependence on technology has gone beyond a little bit too much, I think. Now we have come to a point where we cannot, we are completely lost without technology. If there's no Wi-Fi, then it's like blank. There's nothing there. No, a lot of people have come to that point, no, where they're in the restaurant with friends and family, but they're totally in, their whole focus is totally in that screen. So dependence on technology, I think good. We can, so far we have come this far in technology, in system, in livelihood. We have developed this far because of technology. So technology is good, but overdoing it sometimes not very good. Yeah? There are things that we have to do not depending on technology, and I think mind training is one of them. Just my view. I mean, I'm not saying you need to avoid it, but I think when it comes to training yourself, when it comes to meditating, figuring yourself out, these things technology cannot help. These things are in here, no? Anxiety, fear, stress, anger, hatred, desire, these are all in here, nothing to do in here. Yeah? So I think if you want to work on these things, it has to be not dependent on technology. It has to be dependent on your knowledge, then your ability to focus, then your ability to analyze, contemplate. We all come from different backgrounds. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. Some come from good backgrounds, some come from bad backgrounds, some come from bad experiences, some come from good experiences. But everyone has knowledge, everyone has gain, everyone has experience. Important part is using those experiences. We all want to be happy, yeah? No one wants to suffer. That not just included you, but included the people around you. At the least, if we cannot focus on all sentient beings, we focus the people around you, your community. Yeah? So this is important. So using your experience, your knowledge of whatever it is that you have gone through, and building up within yourself the strength to support each other, especially in situations like this, rather than coming out in situations like this where you are pushing people away. Oh, they are this, they are that, oh, they are taking this, they are taking that, oh, they are black, they are white, they are yellow, they are this, they, all this differentiation and all this, what is a partition. Focus on the dependence, how we are dependent. So like I said, if you cannot have a wide view such as all sentient beings, at least the community that you are in, bring together closeness. This is important, I think. That's one thing. Second thing, no matter what religion you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what kind of background you come from, one thing, you should be happy. That is important. Yeah, everyone should be happy, especially you also should be happy. Yeah, and because you need to be happy, therefore you need to work towards attaining happiness. And attaining happiness is not the worldly happiness we are talking about. It's a sense, genuine, sincere, unconditional peace within yourself. This is important. And only spirituality, I think, can give you that. Technology, worldly things such as massage, movies, cars, party, drinking, I don't know what people do around the world nowadays. All kinds of crazy stuff people do in order to get some kind of peace, happiness, joy. This is nothing compared to inner joy that you can attain. So inner joy is also very important. I think very, very important. You really want to be happy, you need to focus on that. And that, I think, can only come from spiritual practice. Practicing within yourselves, understanding who you are, where you are, what your emotions are, working with those things, the turmoils within yourself, working with those things, applying different methods, logical methods, not illogical methods. Some people, this might seem like a criticism, all of that, but in some religion then we say, oh, if you want to be happy, then you need to sacrifice that, sacrifice this. This, I think, of course there's customs and people do it for their own thing, but it's very illogical. It's not logical. Making someone else suffer for your happiness is very illogical. It's not logical. So I'm saying, look for logical, reasonable, basis of logic that can help you to become not just better person, but a happier person. That's, I think, important. And always you need to depend on logic. It has to make sense. Things don't make sense, it's not very useful. my what is it for people, I think, is important. Then community, importance of community. We talked about the importance of community that you must keep. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time again. Really appreciate it, and it's been amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Okay.
May you live long, happy life.
Thank you. Same to
Namaste.
you.
Thank you so much.